So thanks everybody for joining us today for our OLFA seminar on Write More Engaging Content, Utilizing Best Practices for SEO. I'm super excited about our session today. I always start with telling folks just a little bit about who I am, just so I like to joke that, you know, Yvonne didn't kind of pull me off the street, and I do kind of know a little bit about what I'm talking about today. So my name's Leanne Presley, and I own Stitchcraft Marketing, which is a niche agency that I started in 2009. And we specialize in marketing just for creative companies, mostly in the fabric and the fiber space. I am also an SBDC consultant, which is the business consulting area here in Colorado. Small Business Development Center is what that acronym stands for. And I've been doing that since December of 2019. So I love having the opportunity to work with tons of different types of entrepreneurs in a variety of subjects. Mostly it's, of course, on marketing, but I do enjoy that work. Before we get started into the meat and bones of the presentation, I want to just take 1 minute. I know most of you on the call today are probably retailers, but I want to just take 1 minute and share a little bit about OLFA in general. As most of you know, the company is over 65 years old, and I love that this year they again won the Reader's Choice Award from Fawns and Porters for Best Cutting Mat and Best Rotary Cutter out of 18 brands. And again, I'm sure as retailers, you guys know from customer feedback that you probably get tons of praise for all of their tools. I also want to point out here that you can connect up with OLFA in several different places. These are the most popular social channels that they run. So after this presentation, I think if you do connect up with them, following them, or tagging them or bookmarking, you're going to have a lot easier time accessing some of the resources that they have for you. All right, so let's talk about what you will learn today. Of course, we're going to talk about the basics of search engine optimization, and otherwise known as SEO. I'm going to walk you through a keyword primer and how to make what I call a validated keyword list. We're going to talk about how you take those keywords and bring them into your marketing program. I'll show you a quick little blog example. And then, of course, I want to show you where to access all of this amazing content that OLFA is providing for you. In this presentation, because the keyword content is fairly dense, I will move through that OLFA review fairly quickly, but do keep in mind, like Yvonne mentioned at the top of the hour, we did do another recording, and you do have access to that, where I go into a lot more depth of all of the different areas that you can access OLFA. So if it seems like I'm going through that too quickly, just know that you can get access to that other recording. And then lastly, time permitting, I'm going to cover some efficiency tips and tricks for you. I get lots of feedback from my clients at the agency that this is one of the biggest things they struggle with. So hopefully we'll have some time to get to that, and I'll share some of our best tips and tricks with you. So one of the reasons why I think SEO is super important for you all to be paying attention to and incorporating into your marketing is because engagement is falling. We know that during the pandemic, everyone was online. They were all shopping on our websites. They were all buying our craft supplies and making quilts like crazy. And then, of course, now we're moving out of the pandemic and we see engagement is slowing down, especially this summer when people are out and about. They left their computers, they were traveling, and engagement, of course, has fallen off. Now, we don't always have access to the insights of the algorithms, but I feel like it's kind of a combo situation. We're seeing a drop in a lot of these social channels, but also people are out and about more. So I think it's kind of a dual thing happening there. And in this chart, I just want to point out a couple things that jumped out at me. One is that the platforms projected to grow the most are TikTok and Reddit. You can see those down here at the bottom or at the top here, TikTok and Reddit. Even though they did decrease from 2020 to 2021, we are seeing that those are going to be the platforms people are gravitating to. And then down here at the bottom, the platforms projected to grow the least are Twitter and Facebook. I think with the recent news of Elon Musk taking over Twitter lately, that there might be some more volatile changes happening on that platform as well. So we're keeping an eye on that. All right, so today we're going to focus mainly on one area of search engine optimization. That is going to be this lower right-hand circle, which I call on-page optimization. Now, I do want you to be aware of these other two types of optimization. One is the technical, and that's what I kind of refer to as under the hood types of optimizing. That might be UX and indexation and crawling and some other very technical things that we're not going to cover today. And then you may have heard of off-page, which are things that are mostly out of your control. That would be like backlinks and incoming traffic from other people that are linking to your pages. So that's not where we're going to be focused today. Mostly we'll talk about creative writing and using keywords to increase your domain authority and your rankings. So during the presentation, you're going to hear me talk a lot about Google. And sometimes I get people that say, well, you know, there's some other search engines out there. Why do you just talk about Google? Well, we know that Google is about 91% of global market share. The last time I did this presentation with this slide, the number was 82%. And I just looked at the latest data. So as of June 2022, now they're up to 90% of global market share. So I feel like if we really focus on Google, we're going to be hitting the majority of all the best practices that you need to increase your optimization. There are other search engines, like I mentioned, Yahoo, Bing, and Baidu. And again, I think the advice I'm going to give you today will trickle down and be applicable for some of those other search engines. And then we know that Google is more than 95% of the mobile market. And I'm sure a lot of you that are in touch with your Google Analytics are probably seeing a lot more of your users are moving over to a mobile platform. So there again, Google is dominant. So search engine optimization is really important, of course, because if you're selling something on your website or building a brand, you absolutely have to be found. Building a website nowadays is, and never really was, like that metaphor of if you build it, they will come. And so I want to start with a place of really breaking down the elements of a search result and showing you from the search result side what we're looking at. So then when we're back over on the writing side and the optimization side on the website, then you kind of can connect those two things together and have a better understanding. So the first thing you're going to see in any given search result, and this one is for sewing fabric online, is just the term that I chose for this example. You're going to see a mix of sponsored and organic results at the top here. There might be some images as well. And then right below that, you're going to see what's called paid search. So these are people that are buying or bidding for placements on Google, their ad platform. And you know that those are paid positions because of the little ad box. It's very hard to see here, but I'll circle it with my mouse so you know where to look. So it says ad right next to it. And then below that is going to be what I call really the golden egg. This is where we want to focus with organic search. And we do know from the statistics that about 80% of people, and you may be one of them as a user yourself, jumps right down to the organic search results. And so when we're talking about optimization, that's really where I'm focused. Absolutely, you can spend money on Google and get that ad position further up at the top of the page. And a lot of our clients will focus really heavily on the organic results, but then they'll add in some paid results, maybe for an event or the holidays or something special. So why utilize keywords? I feel like some of this is obvious, but let's just dig into it a little bit deeper. The words and phrases that you're using are going to be called keywords, and the search engines are going to rely on your keywords to deliver relevant content to the users. Optimizing your website and online content with your keywords is going to raise your ranking in search queries, that organic place that I just showed you. And the right keywords will increase your website traffic by including your website in the most relevant search queries. We know that in the last, I don't know, 10 years or so, Google has really focused on trying to provide the best, highest type of content to its users. And, instead of the old school ways of keyword stuffing and really interesting ways to get to the top of search engine results, now it really relies on the content on your website and the domain authority that you have in order to decide what pages it's going to serve up. So how do you utilize keywords? And we're going to get really deep into this in just a minute. But I want you to think about it in terms of the central focus of your content. Let's see, my mouse is giving me some issues here. Just one sec. Okay, so I want you to think about the additional, the central keywords of your focus. You don't want to do keyword stuffing, which I'll get to in a minute, but you can see on this triangle, you'll start with, of course, quilting and sewing, most of the folks on this call, and then you'll kind of have a next level, which you'll be a little bit more specific, talking about quilt fabric, quilt projects, quilt supplies, and classes. And then you might get even more specific with something we call long tail keywords. And that would be, for example, a modern quilt tutorial, or maybe your local quilting retreat. I want you to be as specific as possible. And when we get into the validated keyword list, you're going to see why that's super important. So where do you use keywords? Pretty much everywhere on your website where there is text is going to register with the index bots for SEO ranking. So every single text really on your website, but let's go through a couple of these. So you're going to focus on blogs and article titles and product listings. You want to make sure that your keywords are in what's called a meta description for your blogs and articles. And I will show you exactly what that is in a search result. So if you're not sure what that means, just hang on with me. You're going to have additional keywords in the first paragraph of all your content. And that's very important because Google ranks your page in a hierarchical fashion. So words that appear at the top of your paragraph are going to have a little more value with Google than a word that's, say, in the last paragraph of your blog content, for example. You're going to want to use long tail keywords and secondary keywords in subheadings. You will want to repeat those in your closing paragraph and all of your alt text descriptions for images. Again, for those that might not be familiar with this term, alt text means alternative text. And that is a small little tag that you can add in on the back end of your forms or your HTML that describes the image on your site. And originally it was used for to assist visually impaired folks that were using screen readers. And it actually tells the person looking at your page what that image is because they can't see it. And that's just another place you can add in some relevant keywords. And then you're going to use your main focus keywords in all of your link text as well. So instead of a click here link text, you're going to put in self-healing cutting mat instead as a better, more rich keyword. And then, of course, we don't want to be spamming. We want to be using natural language throughout your content. We're going to not be keyword stuffing where you're using the same phrase or long tail phrase again and again and again, because Google does have the ability to pick up on that, and you will get dinged by them if you are keyword stuffing. All right, so what is your first step to putting together your keyword list? The first thing we're going to do is just kind of start with phrases and terms that relate to your product and enter it into the Google search bar. For example, in this, whoops. Hold on one second. I'm getting a notification here about something funky happening on Zoom. Can you guys all, Yvonne, can you tell me if everything's still going okay? I'm not sure what is happening with.
No, everything is still fine.
Okay. I don't know. Did you see that weird? I got a weird message that I was about to be kicked out of the meeting. Oh, technology. It's always fun. All right. So I will just continue on here. So the first step again is to go over to the Google search and type in the term that you're thinking of using. So here you can see long arm quilting is the one that I'm using. And immediately right below that, I'll get some first results. And in this case is what is long arm quilting and what is so great about it. Right below that, you're going to see another section that is called People Also Ask. And that will give you some ideas for other words and phrases that are commonly searched for. And you can add those to your relevant keyword list. Another place to look for good keywords is below that, even still, and that's called Other Search Term. Searches related to, and that will give you some more. So in this example, I'm seeing like best long arm quilting machine. And I think that would be great for kind of a basic effort here. Most people formulate their keyword list just like this. And I say, I'll give you permission to stop here. If this is as far as you get with trying to come up with good long tail keyword phrases, then that's great. But what I do is kind of the next step. And I'm going to share with you some tools that I use to go a little bit deeper, maybe like a 201 level on keyword lists. All right. So the first one that I look at is, of course, your Google Analytics. For those of you that have this installed and you've taken the time to really go into your backend, you already know that Google is providing you a list of keywords that you already know are being used on your website. So don't be afraid to go in there and grab those keyword lists, maybe once a quarter, once a month, if you're feeling really on top of this and you want to really stay in tune with what your specific keyword list is. Next, you can go to a tool called SEO Book, and I will show you what that looks like. This is the one that we use the most, and I focus on a sub-tool called the Keyword Tool. And again, I'll show you that really specifically. The third one is Moz's Domain Authority. And Moz's Domain Authority you put your phrases in and it will give you what's called a difficulty score. And it gives you a ranking of 1 to 100. And it will tell you really how difficult will it be for you to compete for that specific phrase. And the example sometimes I use is with Amazon. If you were in the business of selling books and you were putting some phrases in that were very simple, selling books or history books or science books, Moz will tell you again how much domain authority Amazon has versus your domain authority. And that will give you a pretty good sense of whether or not you want to compete for those phrases. Again, that's kind of 201 level stuff. And then Ahrefs domain rating is another tool that will measure your domain authority. Just another comment on the domain authority, because I do get some questions about this. Once you are creating content and you're sort of out there in the world writing blogs and populating your website with all sorts of different content, you do want to be thinking about this domain authority. You want to be writing really in-depth content so that Google will see you and your business as a domain authority in whatever you want to be an expert on. So if you've got a quilt shop where you really specialize in full color modern quilt styles, then you can be the domain authority on that particular topic. All right. So the next thing we're going to look at is what I call a validated keyword list. And like I just said, most of our clients really stop with the exercise that I just gave you, where they'll put together some phrases, they'll throw some words on a list, and then they go right over to their blog writing and they start creating content. And they think, that's good, I'm ready to go. And I kind of refer to that as, it's good enough. But you're also just throwing mud up on the wall. You're kind of guessing at what those keywords are and what those phrases are. And I like to do something called a validated keyword list that gets a little bit deeper into you understanding what phrases and words people are using. So this next part, I always kind of warn people, can get a little bit thick and dense. And so just stay with me. And like I said earlier, if you've got some questions about this, go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll make sure we get them answered at the end of the session. Okay, so the first thing I do is that first exercise. I'll do a quick sketch on a piece of paper of the different words that I'm looking at. And then the first thing I do is jump over to SEO book, and I go to right here, their SEO tools. And in this, you'll see a dropdown that says keyword tool. And then that brings you to this page here, and you'll see the form where you can submit some keywords. So what I'm going to do is type in my phrase that I'm thinking of, which is cutting mat. And you'll see right here, when I type in cutting mat, I'm going to get quite a bit of data from this keyword tool. And I want to draw your attention over here to the left-hand side where I can see what these keywords are. And you'll notice that there's a lot of different phrases beyond just cutting mat and what I put in. And the next thing I look at here is the impressions. I want to see how many people are actually utilizing that keyword. I want to see search volume. You can, there's tons of information on this graph and chart that they provide you. But really what I kind of just look at is these different variations of the phrases that I'm thinking of. And almost always I'm surprised by several different things. One is extra words that I didn't really think of that I can add on to my long tail phrase, pre-cut mats for framing, self-healing cutting mats. The other thing I'm usually surprised by is the use of singular or plural. So your regular keyword list might just be singular, and you might come in here and find out that actually, well, in this case, healing, cutting mat singular is more effective than if you were to add an S on it. So even just some of those insights I think are really helpful here. So what I do is take my phrase. Sorry, I'm hearing a little bit of back noise in the chat room here. Just seeing if everybody's microphones are off. If everybody could just check their microphone and make sure those are turned off, that'd be great. So the next thing I do is I take that same phrase, so healing, cutting mat, and I want to come back over to Google. So here I am on the Google search, and I'm putting in healing, cutting mat. And right down here, you're going to see about how many search results come up. And in this case, we're over 5 million on that particular search. And to me, that's going to be way too hard to compete with all the other people that are trying to get search results and traffic from that phrase. So I'll go back over to SEO book, and I take a look at some other keywords in here that might have less results. And in this case, I'm going to come down here, and I see self-healing cutting mats right down here. That's got about 4,400 impressions. So now I'm going to come back to my Google search result. And I love that in this case, I'm typing in OLFA, health, self-healing cutting mats. So I've taken the phrase that I pulled from SEO book. And then because I'm an OLFA retailer, I'm going to throw in OLFA because I do want to be a domain authority. I want Google to think that I'm one of the preeminent websites that they should be sending traffic to when people are looking for OLFA products. And here I can see there's about 308,000 results. And I say anything below 1 million, anything between, let's say, even, 500, 600,000, you're going to start getting into competitive realm. But anything over 1 million, I keep refining those search words. So now what I can do is bring this phrase over to my blog and my marketing strategies to optimize for this particular phrase. So with that phrase, now I want to show you back on a real search result, what happens with that phrase. So a couple things that I'm going to point out to you here. And remember, I'm using OLFA self-healing cutting mats, and these are the search results. So the first thing that I see is the title tag. And that's going to be right down here. So you'll notice best self-healing cutting mats for sewing and quilting is the #1 result. And so, of course, my phrase, self-healing cutting mats, is in that result. Next down here is the description. Now, this description is not very robust. It's a little bit limited. You usually will see a lot more detailed descriptions, but even so, we're seeing self-healing cutting mats in my result there. That's the description. Next, I want you to notice right here, the HTTPS. That's another reason that this company, the ilovequiltingforever.com, is coming up number one. Google really wants your site to be secure. So if you have a website that is still rendering as HTTP, after this seminar, I want you to get on the phone with your web dev person and tell them that you need a secure socket layer certificate, an SSL certificate. And that will give you the S that's needed here for this secure socket layer. And again, in Google's eyes, they will look at you as a place that they do want to send traffic because they know that you are a secure website. Especially if you are the type of site that has an e-commerce component, you absolutely have to have an HTTPS. And then the next thing that I point out is that there are the keyword phrases in the actual file name. So again, this is the number one result, the I Love Quilting Forever. And you can see up here in the URL that they have named their file name the same as what my search terms were. So best self-healing cutting mats. They had best in there, which I didn't have, but self-healing cutting mats. So that's all the different parts and pieces that can come together to give you that top search result. So the next thing that you're going to be working on that you can control on your end is the writing and the content that you put on your website. So this is actually the blog post that I found over on this website. You can see the title again is Best Self-Healing Cutting Mats for Sewing and Quilting. And what I did was just to illustrate my point here as I went through this whole blog post, and you can see these are all the keyword phrases that appeared in this blog post. And I am 100% sure that this company has optimized this blog post for all these phrases. And they probably did a little bit of research ahead of time on a tool like SEO Book to see that these were phrases that were ranking high in our chart. And that's how they chose, singular, plural, or I love how right here, they've got an instance of self-healing cutting mats, plural. And then down here below, they're doing self-healing because they know that both of those phrases are coming up as popular. So if you look at this blog post, you can see several instances throughout here, right here, cutting mat. You can see using the best cutting mat right here, another instance of that, more cutting mats, self-healing, and they've used sewing mats here, which again, super clever to just mix things up a little bit. And then down here below, you do see the OLFA, which is probably why this one also came up for me because my search term included the phrase OLFA. All right, so hopefully that gives you a good illustration of how you kind of tie all of those things together. Now, if you're a little bit of a data nerd like me, you might consider doing a spreadsheet. This is an example of a spreadsheet that we did for a client where we track things over time. So we'll put in the page URL on the left-hand column here. We put in whatever keyword phrase we're trying to optimize for. Before we do any work, we put in what our baseline ranking is right here. We put in the date. And then we'll follow this along. You can't see the rest of this spreadsheet, but we'll go 6 weeks out on this so that we can track how our keyword phrases improve over time. And for this particular client, you can see one of their biggest phrases, which was 100% cashmere yarn, went from 28 to 19 in just 1 week. After we tweaked and changed a couple of different phrases. So again, if you're a data nerd, you can go ahead and keep a spreadsheet like that. So I often get feedback from clients that tell me, why should I write a blog? I'm not going to waste my time doing that because nobody's really going to read my blog. And the other thing I hear people say is, well, I have nothing interesting to say. And I always push back on that and say, of course, you need to have a blog, mainly because you want to be found in searches. If nobody is reading your blog, no human person that you know, Google is reading your blog, and Google is utilizing that mainly because Google likes to see frequently changing content on your website. And a blog is one of the sometimes only tools available to us as content creators to have something change frequently. So if you're writing a blog every week or every 2 weeks or every month, Google is coming back to that page and noticing that it's fresh, new content. And so you will get kind of what I call points on the board with Google and your search result. And over time, you will definitely see this be favorable to you. So again, just keep in mind, if nobody's reading your blog, Google is reading your blog. It also gives you an opportunity to share information about a topic and become an expert in your industry. Remember that domain authority. We also do want to attract visitors to your site. Anytime someone is putting in those search terms, your page can be at the top of those results, just like what I showed you in the example with the self-healing mats. That's how people find the content. You know this as a consumer. So you will attract new visitors to your site. And of course, it cultivates an online community, and it's just another great tool that we have to engage our audience. So some best practices for writing more engaging blogs. I always say you want to know your audience, make sure that you really understand your customer avatar and the problems that he or she has and what you're trying to solve for them. This is an opportunity for you to provide useful content. You do want to be that hero to swoop in and solve problems for them. You want to educate and motivate. I just recently was reviewing the Premier Needle Arts quilting survey that showed the number 1 and 2 reason that people are coming to your websites is because you are educating them and motivating them. So make sure that you're focused on that. We want to see compelling headlines, of course. You want to grab that audience right away. Make your blogs easy to read and keep them clear and concise. I always advise my clients to beware of what I call wall of text. And I'm sure all of you visual people can imagine what wall of text looks like. We are all visual people, especially in the craft industry and in the fiber and fabric industry. So you want to provide your audience with something visual. So give them beautiful photographs and graphics and infographics and whatever it is. I would, of course, encourage you to source all of the OLFA resources available to you because there's a plethora of professionally shot photographs. There's really no excuse that your images and graphics would be poor. Of course, we're going to optimize for SEO. And like I said, you're going to use images and graphics to rest the eyes. Break up that wall of text with images. Okay, so I mentioned earlier, OLFA has a ton of resources for you, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows exactly how to access those. So I want to just take a minute. I'll first review what these are for you. We're going to take a look at the OLFA website. We're going to look at their toolbox, blogs, and the YouTube channel. And then they also have a wonderful craft catalog. And again, if you get this replay link, all of these links will be take you directly to that location. So just a quick overview on the OLFA website. You'll see a ton of resources, mainly these product pages. If you scroll down to the bottom of any page, you'll see links to videos and other information there. And that will open up these product pages, which I'll show you when I jump into the demo here. All of these are hyperlinks. They're hot links that you can use, and they make it really, really easy to access all the information. So product pages from the website, again, which I'll show you in a minute. Next, we've got the distributor toolbox. On the distributor toolbox, you'll see product photos out of the packaging. You'll get packaging photos, lifestyle photos, which I always highly recommend that you choose lifestyle photos first and work those in. OLFA logos and brand style guides. I recommend that you have a folder on your desktop, or like we use a platform called Canva, and we upload all of those logos and all of those specific hexadecimal colors so that we know when we're creating content that we're using exactly the correct OLFA colors. And so they've got a brand style guide in there that you can utilize to make sure that you get that right. You don't have to guess. And then, of course, there's free classes that your shop can download, print, and teach. all in that toolbox. Next, we have the OLFA blog right here on the left, and I will show you a demo of that, which with tons of great information and inspirational ideas, and also some good photographs. And then we've got the catalog here on the right-hand side. And I love the catalog specifically because when I am creating content, one of the things I love to do is just download little parts of content that's in the catalog. And I'll show you that with a matte example here in a minute. And it just downloads a really nice JPEG, and then I can craft and create my own types of social posts around what I've downloaded from the catalog. Okay, so let's go over here to olfa.com. And I'm going to kind of stick with my mat theme. So let's suppose that I've already optimized for that self-healing cutting mat phrase that we talked about a minute ago. And I want to come in here and start to create some social posts for the new blogs that I'm going to do to promote those long tail phrases. So this is the homepage, and I'm going to just bump right over to craft and products. And then you'll see another right fly out drop down menu. I'm going to go right over here to mats. And you'll see all the products available. Now, since I'm doing self-healing, I want to make sure that I'm clicking on, let's just pull this one up, the self-healing, green double-sided self-healing rotary mat. And just a couple things I want to point out here. One, again, how I directed you earlier to this section here. Lovely lifestyle photos that you can capture right here in this area. And over here on the right, lots of information about the products that you can include in your posts. And all these are hot links as well. And you can go down and see reviews and so on. All right, so that's one place that you can capture some great images. If you do see something that you like down here, you can do a right click and save as. I also sometimes, if I'm feeling lazy, I'll just do copy image and dump it right into my Canva design layout. If you do want to save it into a folder for maybe a larger marketing strategy, or you're doing month-long promotions, go ahead and put it into a folder that's on your desktop. Next, I want to show you the toolbox. The toolbox is easily accessible at the bottom here of the olfa.com homepage, and you go into distributor toolboxes. If I scroll down here, I'll see the OLFA Craft Toolbox, and this is an area where you will have to register for access if you have not already accessed it. Super easy and simple to do. Now, I'm already registered, so I'm clicking on this little chain link below. It will put in my pre-populated username and password, and then it jumps me right into the toolbox. Now, this one is also organized initially by category, and I'm going to scroll down to cutting mats because, again, we're looking at the self-healing mat. The other thing, let's see, as I go into here, I'll just pick the rotary mat. And the other thing I want to point out here is once you go into an individual product, you'll see this left-hand library pop up. This is another way that you can navigate through the toolbox. Right now, I'm down here in this mat section, so I'm seeing all of the files that come up in mats. The other tool I love to use on here is a little bit lower. It's called My Collections. You'll see if you mouse over any given image, you'll have this option of a little heart here on the left. And I've already got a couple of these collections already created, but you can create a collection right down here with your name. And let's just say I wanted to put it into my November 2022 newsletter because I know I'm going to talk all about self-healing mats in my newsletter, my blog, and my social posts. So you can save it there. And then it's down here, easy for you to capture again. If you wanted to download something, there's a couple of ways to do it. You've got a download icon right here. And if you just want the one image, you can go ahead and download that. It will drop down onto your browser. For me, it's down on the left-hand side here. Or if you want to choose multiple images, let's say, again, I am planning my whole month-long strategy and I want both of these images, I'll just use this radio button here. And then I go over to the right-hand side to this top right download button. And I can download that as a zip file that I can then extract to wherever I want. Usually I just put it on a desktop folder. So lots of great information in the toolbox there. The next one is the blog. So I'm going to come back out to the main website. And back on the home page here, if you wanted to start from scratch, just going into the blog, you're going to go back to this craft navigation, dropping down to blog. And here again, I think if you have not spent a lot of time in the blog, you are going to be just completely blown away by all the content that OLFA puts together for you. On the left-hand side navigation here, you can browse by category. And if you go into these different projects, I love, again, how everything is hot linked. Let's say I want to get a head start on my Halloween projects for next year, and I'm going to do this paper garland. I can scroll down and see not only some fantastic photographs that you can, again, use for your purposes, but again, these hot links that could take you back over to the project information. So if you did want this project photograph, it's very easily accessible, and or any of these supplemental materials down at the bottom. Oh, I got to try not to hit my Zoom stuff here. All right. And again, I'd encourage you to just spend a lot of time in the blog here, because there's tons of inspirational ideas that you can capture for your marketing. And then next, the YouTube channel is another great place for you to access information. This is the OLFA North America channel that I've already got pulled up here. And as you can see, there's tons of videos that you can use. Now, in the first presentation that I did for OLFA, I actually walked you through an exercise of how to embed a video into your blog or your newsletter. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, and I'd highly encourage you to do that, because we know from the data that dynamic content, such as a video, far, far outperforms static content. So I would encourage you to go ahead and walk through that embed lesson and learn to get really good at embedding these videos into your other social content. Super easy to do. And then lastly, I want to show you the catalog. That's going to be in your lower navigation down here as well, under the products heading. To the right-hand side here, you will see the craft catalog, which is the place that you're going to go to access most of the materials for your marketing stuff. And you just click this little arrow to bring up the actual catalog. It takes 1 minute to load here. And then since I'm looking for mat content, I was already in here looking around. Let me just show you really quickly how this works. It's like a little catalog, actually. I like to think of it as a magazine. And this is taking a minute to load, but you will see it operates kind of like a magazine with page turning and really robust images. Let's see if by bringing this up, it will show me some thumbnails. You know, again, technology. Yvonne, I did this demo probably 10 times to practice and never had an issue with the images coming up. All right, let's see. I wanted to go down to the page 2021. We'll give it just a second here and see if it will actually load. You refresh it. Okay, there we go. Thank you, technology. So here, again, I'm going after self-healing cutting mats as my long tail phrase. This is what my whole marketing strategy this month is going to be about. And one thing that I love about this is you can do download of these pages. So let's say I love this little illustration here and how this is laid out. So I'll go to the download button on the lower right-hand corner down here, and it brings up a little sub-menu where if I want to download the left page, the right page, or all pages, you have that option. So I'm going to do the right page, and you can see down here below, it's just a JPEG that dropped down to my browser. And now the beautiful thing is I'm going to have this image available to me to put in my newsletter, my blog, my socials, all the things that I'm going to put out there to promote my long tail phrase, the self-healing mats. So again, I encourage you to spend some time in the catalog. There's tons of wonderful professionally shot photographs, so you don't need to struggle to try to figure out how to do that on your own. All right, so hopefully that gives you a little overview of all the places that you can go to find OLFA content. And I want to just review again some of these efficiency tips and tricks that I share with my clients to make their marketing lives easier. First thing I always tell people is it's okay for you to repurpose content. You have so many moving parts with your social media tools. You've got a newsletter, you've got a blog, you've got social channels. If you've got Instagram and Facebook, those are structured, chronologically. And a week later, the content piece that you posted at the first day of the month is going to be at the bottom of your wall and not even visible by some of your viewers that show up on the 15th of the month. So it's absolutely okay for you to repurpose content or share it across different platforms. We do that for our newsletters, our social posts, all of our social channels, video as well. And again, feel free to repeat a post with fresh, updated content. It does not have to be fresh and updated all the time. We like to plan our strategy sessions a month out to make sure that we're including and capturing all the things that we want to talk about, and so that our plans are cohesive. If you are going to be planning a strategy about self-healing cutting mats, you want that to be cohesive at the beginning of the month as well as the end of the month. So I think planning all of those things out in a spreadsheet is a great way to be efficient with that. So we'll include our events. We'll do promos for classes. Maybe you're going to host something where you teach people all about the different types of mats that you're selling through with OLFA. You might have new product and features, or your, of course, offers and sales. All of that gets dumped into a spreadsheet. And this is an example of what a mock spreadsheet might look like for a company. This is one designed for OLFA content. And so you can see here what we do on the far left-hand side. We'll put some of the channels that we're covering for that month and maybe some features that we have, like we'll do Tip Tuesday or Wordboard Wednesday, or all the content that we're putting down for our newsletter or the blog that we're writing about. And then we, across the top here, put in our weeks. And then each cell is a piece of content that we have pre-planned. So we know at any given moment what we're going to be talking about on all our socials, and all of our team does as well. Like I mentioned in the demo, the other thing we do is download large batches of photographs directly from the OLFA toolbox all at once. And then we'll keep that folder on our desktop. And when it comes time to writing all the content, we've got it readily accessible for us. And like I showed you on the demo, it's easy to do with these radio buttons. And then you'll come over here to the right-hand side where you can download. Now, remember, I talked about the folders. These are the folders that we set up as an organized system on our website, on our desktop. So we'll start with our OLFA photos at the top there, and then we might even categorize those further into smaller subfolders to keep everything organized. So if you were to do November 2022 newsletter, for example, when you get to December, it's nice and easy for you to just delete that folder off. You don't have to sift back through all your images to figure out which ones to delete. We also batch a lot of content at our agency. We'll take and process, I'm sorry, I'm not sure why that one's not working. So we'll take and process photos in batches, and we'll create a permanent setup, like you can see the image here. I even have clients that will just set everything up in a closet. For example, they'll have all their lighting on their stages and even their microphones if they're doing video, everything all in advance. And that makes it super easy to just go in there and take care of your whole month's posting images at one time. And then I also recommend that you keep that keyword list handy so that you're coordinating what phrases and keywords you're going after with the kind of content that you're planning. Other tips and tricks we have relate to using pre-schedulers. Almost all the social channels do have pre-schedulers. Here you can see Sprout Social up here and Hootsuite are two of the very most popular ones that I hear folks using. And then Meta, which is, of course, the new name for Facebook, combines that for Facebook and Instagram. And on the back end, you can see this really nifty little calendar that shows you all of your content planned out. If you are the kind of person that can sit down and do all your social posting in one fell swoop, I think that you'll find that to save you a lot of time and energy trying to do it every couple of days. Now, we know this is one of the topics that people struggle with the most, so we do have a supplemental blog post available for you called Managing Your Social Media Marketing in 45 Minutes a Day. And this is a QR code you can capture if you want to learn more about other tips and tricks we do for pre-scheduling. And that's all I have for you today. I do want to take 1 minute and just tell you a little bit about our agency. Like I said, we only service fiber and fabric companies, and we specialize in execution and strategy of social media. We are a full service agency. So if you have website design and maintenance needs, we can help you with that too, as well as digital branding, graphics, logo, and advertising. And I do have openings right now for consulting, and then we're a little bit of a waiting list for other executable services. So if that is something you're interested in, just reach out to me here and we can talk more about that. All right. So Yvonne, I will say thank you and a great shout out to everyone at OLFA who supported me to give you this presentation. And again, Yvonne, do you want to add anything to the demo section? Anything I missed? Hopefully not. And then we can get to some questions.
Yeah, just as a reminder, because there's some people that came in after the fact. Probably not today. It's probably going to be tomorrow. We will get the links for the first and second webinars out to you. And the first webinar does go more in depth of how to use all of the OLFA resources that we have for you. If you want to get started on something today, if you go to olfa.com and go down to those distributor toolboxes at the bottom and get yourself signed up so that you can have access, that would be a great first start for today. And then, like I said, we'll follow up with an email for all of the links and whatnot. And I'll be the one sending out the email. So if you do have other questions, feel free to respond and let me know.
Okay, that sounds good. I see we do have a couple of questions in the chat. The first one is, what blog host do you recommend? I'm in the arena of I don't have anything interesting to say and I've never blogged before, so where do I start? I think that WordPress is probably the easiest platform to incorporate. You can download the WordPress from wordpress.org. And it'll be a set of files that you can integrate into your existing website. I do think that's the best place to start, and it's the most user-friendly. If you don't know how to incorporate it into your website or you don't want to, then you can just go over to the wordpress.com and they will host your blog for you. So I'd recommend that as a good place to start.
As far as, I think it was Darlene, not having anything interesting to say, the fun thing is your brands that you sell have a lot to say.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why we wanted to have Leanne give you this additional information. We spend so much time and energy putting together information for shops to use. We want to give you the information so you don't have to go searching anywhere else. The product pages, great place to start. Do you want to educate your consumers on, we'll just use mats for an example. Each one of our product pages has all the features and benefits. It has videos. It really does have everything there. You can do a fun tips and tricks. You can link to some of the projects that we have available. Again, it's just sitting down and looking at what the brands have available. Most brands are going to have a blog. You're going to have access to materials that they create for you that you can just easily reshare, or pull some of the information, product information, and share it. I don't know how many different ways we have instructions on how to change your rotary blade, and it still comes up as one of the #1 questions. So if you want to start somewhere, educate people on how to change their rotary blade. And we have all of that information on the website. We have videos on how to do it, and we have the videos done 3 different ways in addition to different photos and downloadable instructions. So again, go back to the brands that you're selling. Chances are they have information. I know for a fact we do tons of information for you to share, to reshare and educate.
Yes, great feedback, Yvonne. Let OLFA and be the one that creates the content for you so that you don't have to rely on yourself to come up with those different ideas. All right, I see one more question here. How would you rank the different social media channels from most important for quilters to least important? I would say this depends. You really need to understand who your customer avatar is and who you're serving in your business before you can make a broad statement about which channels are the best or the worst. I'm paying attention to video channels like TikTok. Like I said at the top of the presentation, those are growing and we're seeing a lot more folks gravitate to that. So I'd definitely be taking a look at some of those for the coming years. And I think Instagram has always just really been a good standby, really reliable source for our clients, at least as far as social channels. Yvonne, anything you want to add to that?
No, I would say Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook. Also keep in mind, one of the things that we've kind of looked at is that, well, let me start with a project that we have one of our designers do. We have them create that in, they have their written instructions, they have their photography, they have a short video, they might have a longer video. And we use all of that content differently depending on the avenue that it's going out. So we know that Facebook, people are more willing to sit through a longer video. So we may use that on that post, whereas the shorter one we would use for a reel on Instagram. We also make sure to put it on Pinterest. So one project, you'll see 3 or 4 different ways that we're talking about it because the different platforms, people react differently. So yeah, just because you're talking about, go back to blade changes, there's 3 different ways that you can tell that story. And again, if you kind of look through our content that's available, you will see things repeated and it just looks differently because what captures your attention isn't what captures Leanne's attention or captures my attention.
Mm-hmm. And someone commented about them that they will never be on TikTok. And you need to also keep in mind that not all your customers are going to be on all the channels. So even though I say Instagram is really effective for our clients, that doesn't mean we don't have them do Facebook. That doesn't mean we don't have them do Pinterest. We have all of our clients across all the channels for exactly that reason. Some of your clients are going to prefer one channel over another one, and you want to the best of your ability, be in all of the places where your customers are.
And by being tuned into your monthly reports and like we do have a TikTok channel, it's not active. Like I go in there, I look at, people that are tagging us. We have some of our designers that tag us, but we aren't actively on TikTok because we know that's not where our users are. Our users are on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest. But we know that by looking at our monthly reports, when we, sit down and look at our how our different posts did on Instagram versus Facebook. That's how we knew how to start separating out how we tell or how we talk about each different project. If something isn't doing well, let's say we put up a coaster or something on Instagram and it doesn't do well, we don't repeat that. Mm-hmm, so if we put up a bag, we know, okay, people are responding to bags, so we do more bags. So that's where looking at how your posts do, that kind of leads you to what your consumer is wanting.
Absolutely. I would second that. All right. Well, I don't see other questions in the chat.
I did see one other one about a 3rd webinar. We're open to it if there's something that you guys are looking for, but for sure go back and watch the first one if you missed that. And we're always open to, again, we're here to help you educate and sell more product. So however we need to do that.
Oh, I do just see a new comment coming in. Is the embedding videos explained in the first program? Yes, Rebecca, it is step by step. I show you exactly how to do that. So that's the place to get your hands on that particular tutorial. Super easy to do. All right, sounds good. Well, thank you again, everybody, for your time. I know it's super valuable. And just another thank you to you, Yvonne, for giving me the opportunity to share all this information with you. Well,
thanks so much.
See you next time. Bye-bye.